You're listening to episode 358 of the Major Issues podcast, and we are having a Transformers Thanksgiving as we cover Transformers by Skybound, Volume 1. The Major Issues podcast starts right now. Hello everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, you can only be here for one reason. That's a brand new episode of the Major Issues podcast, brought to you each and every week by ComicBookClique.com. And as always, I am never alone. Sir, if you could please introduce yourself.
It's me, Alex Garcia, aka The Cog, here with you once again, George. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. We are finishing our last quarter of content here as part of the Major Issues podcast. I can't believe we're so close to the end of the year. Regardless, we're going to have to watch Craven. That's just something that's going to have to happen. But in between then, it's important that we tackle things that we like and we read and discuss things that we like. And when it comes to things that we like, you have been waxing poetically about a certain universe, an Energon universe of sorts, this rebirth of the Transformers brand ever since Skybound got the rights from IDW last year. The first issue of the story that we're talking about today, published in October of 2023. So yeah, we're here to talk Transformers. But before we get all deep in recap and review for this first volume, why did you pick this story? In a world where things are constantly rebooted, what made you interested in this particular reboot? And without spoilers, how would you recommend this story to those who might be on the fence?
Well, for one, it's all done by a guy who we highly recommend. We've read quite a bit of him, Daniel Warren Johnson.
Yes,
this guy has been pumping out quality books for a couple of years now. We covered Do a Powerbomb. He is currently doing also The Moon is Following Us. And he did that Betty Bill miniseries a few years ago.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. The guy's art is dynamic. And what's awesome is when he gets into something, he shows a love for it, an admiration for it. It's not, you can tell it's not just, like a paycheck or let's just make it fun, which it is. But he still breathes a life into it that a lot of other people don't bother to do. I've read quite a bit of Transformers comics over the years, and nothing has been as dynamic, as heartful as this Transformers series. And after reading that first issue, and also seeing how they built this new universe, because it all started really in Void Rivals, written by Robert Kirkman. So that first issue of Void Rivals planted the seed for, okay, this isn't just going to be a Transformers comic. This is a Transformers universe that they're calling the Energon universe. So seeing all these things, that the name, and seeing how this universe was going to be built up, I had to jump on this book. And after that first issue, and I mean, people slept on this issue. A lot of people were like, another Transformers, whatever. This thing, I think it's up to its 10th printing now.
Oh, that's bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, I agree with everything that you say. Daniel Warren Johnson, we will get him on the show eventually. I just feel like our taste and his taste line right up right there in the middle with comic books and professional wrestling. We've even managed to see spoiler alerts and professional wrestling moves in this comic performed by robots, robots in disguise at the very least, which is extremely interesting. I will say I'm a bit of a novice when it comes to Transformers lore, besides knowing who the bad guys are and who the good guys are. So I did look forward to, and I look forward to in the future finishing this and kind of seeing how Johnson kind of pictures this whole war between these two warring factions. But he pulls a lot from military depictions, and as somebody who's been overseas twice, served in the military between 2008 and 2012, that stuff definitely resonated with me. But he always has a way to ground even on the surface, pretty ridiculous stories in a method where you really resonate with the characters and you really care about where they're going. I mean, like I said last time, we discussed a Daniel Warren Johnson book on here. It's a tag team championship to fight God or something, but when you boil it all the way down, really heartfelt stories. I didn't think I would care too much about the robots in this, but they're like you said, they're dynamic. The action sequences in this are top notch. It's the one failing. He's the one recurring artist that I always feel like we fail in the recap, because I can't just go panel by panel and be like, "Isn't this amazing? Isn't that amazing? Right. Isn't this amazing?" Yeah. The bombastic action sequences in this would make Michael Bay movies jealous. The quiet moments in this would make, films like Transformers 1 is more akin to what that film was trying to accomplish with this. So we're seeing an overall rebranding when it comes to this IP. One that wants to take itself a little bit more seriously. Quite literally was created to make toys, but I think that you hear the phrase right in that documentary series, the toys who made us. And so these toys made people, made artists, directors, writers, and you got to believe that Daniel Warren Johnson comes at it with a level of love, like you said. I don't think this was a blind spot for him, and he's just picking it up to right. Take it on. I think he has a history with these characters. A little bit of homework up front. I just wanted to mention that this is a relaunch of the Transformers comics. Initially, they were published under IDW Publishings. These are Skybound's Transformers comics set in the Energon universe, written by Daniel Warren Johnson, colored by Mike Spicer. The first issue debuted on October 4th, 2023. Like I said, roughly about a year ago. Johnson went on to say, "To my readers, retailers, and fellow Transformers fans, get ready. I've only been drawing Optimus Prime and the rest of this amazing cast since I was in first grade. This is a dream project for me, and I'm so glad to be adding a new chapter to the decades-long celebration of robots running into cars. Also, cab over trucks are so fun to draw." So,
yes, they are.
So right there, the man, professing his love for this. Now, I know you are a fan of the IP. Is there deep lore in this? I mean, you've read multiple comics in this. And so you think like some of this stuff that we've seen, a neophyte like me who's only seen things like the Bay films and the clips of the '80s Transformers show, are we really just scratching the surface here?
Oh, absolutely. What's awesome in his series now is a lot like Transformers 1. Is even though this is again taking place on Earth, he's putting the robots at the forefront and humanizing them in a way that really hasn't been done, especially to me in the Michael Bay films. They're just giant robots, doing cool stuff. The most humanistic qualities are given to Optimus Prime. Everybody knows that Peter Cullen voice.
Yes.
I mean, he's been doing the character for 40 plus years. So everybody knows that, but the way Daniel Warren Johnson draws them and almost gives them these facial emotions, and the way you can still hear their voices, and the way they interact with one another, they feel like humans, and like the Michael Bay movies. They used to drive me nuts because I'd always sit there and go, why are there so many human characters?
Right.
Even if you go back to the animated series back in the day, there was like 3 human characters. And then for the most part, human characters were just kind of bystanders or the military or something, but they were never giving characters. It was about the robots. But, it was a 30-minute, like you said, toy commercial, essentially. So you didn't get that much characterization out of them. Daniel Warren Johnson gives these guys a character in a way that for me as a lifelong Transformers fan, I love hearing these voices and feeling like, oh wow, they're really different. It's not just a robot. That this guy's not different because he turns into a van, or this one's not different because he turns into a Porsche. They're different characters. You get a good feeling for these characters, and this series has only been out for a little more than a year, but already you get so many different personalities from this book. That I'm just absolutely loving it. And I love the fact that he gets Optimus so well that I hear Peter Cullen, and I love that, and that's a testament to Peter Cullen as well.
I think so too. Does it play a lot into your knowledge of this stuff? Like, are you seeing things and you're like, oh, I know what's going to happen next? Or do you kind of just have like a vague idea of what might be around the corner prior to you? Obviously, I'm assuming you've read volume two at this point, but
Have I?
yeah, but prior to that, were these familiar blocks laying down, or is this completely unpaved road?
Mostly unpaid. A lot of things happened that I was like, "Ooh, wow!" Like, I mean, there's a certain character that you really still haven't seen in all
Yeah.
these pages. So right there, that's a huge difference. But he still does hit these certain story beats that if you're a fan of the Transformers, you go, "Oh, okay, he's paying homage to this, or he's calling back to these old stories." But for the most part, yeah, this is very uncharted territory. And I'm really, really liking that because I want something new. I don't want to feel like, oh, I'm reading this story again. It's very, very different.
I can dig that. Let's get into a recap and review. We're covering the first 6 issues of this. I really enjoyed this series, and I most likely will end up covering the second half of this next year when the other pieces of the Energon universe start to fall as they have. I find it interesting that the only kind of like tangential tie to the Bay universe is this wiki of it all. We got more wikis,
and that's the thing. It's a character that has existed in the Transformers universe already. So it's not even a Michael Bay thing. But you could say, oh, that reminds me of the Michael Bay movies. Spike, and Sparkplug have been around from the beginning of the animated series.
Interesting. So yeah, I'm going to you to drop those nuggets of knowledge to those who may not be, catching what Daniel Warren Johnson is dropping with these dank Easter eggs. But let's go ahead and jump into the madness that is Transformers Volume 1. Again, full spoilers if you have not read this series, and also, again, did my best to sort of summarize some of this stuff, but this is a gorgeous book to just behold. So if you have a chance, really, really, really look at these art panels and action scenes. They're incredible. But when we start off our book, we meet up with, as you mentioned before, Spike Witwicky, who finds his dad, Sparky, asleep at a bar and asks how long he's been there. The bartender, Danny, casually replies, "Since noon." Spotting his brother Jimmy's old telescope, Sparky learned Spike plans to head to Hanger's Rock with his little boo, Carly, to watch the full moon, saying that it helps him feel close to his late brother. Sparky dismissively tells him to forget the past, sparking an argument. Spike fires back, vowing not to end up like Jimmy. Their tense exchange ends when Sparky's coworker Davy arrives to pick him up for work, leaving Spike fuming. Carly soon arrives in her van, cheering him up by suggesting they pretend that they are on another planet. So we meet our human protagonists in this, the Witwickies, and there's already I wouldn't say secret, but maybe a mini mystery of what's gone on with this Jimmy character. We get more clues as the story goes on, but obviously Sparky's not handling it well, drinking himself, every day, damn near to death. But what do you think about this opener? We actually get a page with little glimpses of the Transformers universe and the arc and stuff before we meet our human protagonist. But what do you think about this introduction to our human protagonist?
Well, for me, I was almost worried when I first started reading this because I was like, "Oh, here we go, humans, damn it!" But at the same time, they're familiar names. It was seeing Sparky instead of Sparkplug because that's what the dad is called traditionally in the animated series. I was like, okay, they're changing it up a little bit. Got Sparky, but we still got Spike.
Is there a Jimmy?
Not that I recall, to be quite honest with you. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go ahead and say no, but I could be wrong. I don't recall a Jimmy. Unless R-Truth is showing up somewhere in here.
Little Jimmy.
But no, the one thing I did like was, again, very humanizing, right? You have a dad here he's drinking himself to death. He's got some sort of PTSD, whether because what happened to Jimmy or something with the job. We don't see a mom, so what's going on with that? And the son is just kind of like, hey, it's going to be different. And then Carly, from my recollection, another new character. I don't remember any Carly ever showing up in any of the animated shows. Maybe one of the later ones because there have been many animated shows. But yeah, this was cluing us in, and then seeing the Ark, of course, hidden in the classic volcano, because that's how the Autobots first way back in the day landed on Earth. I don't want to get potentially into spoilers here, but they crashed into a volcano, and that was always like a classic animated sequence from the original series. So seeing them in the volcano was like, ooh, okay, here we go.
While you might be getting little hints of like what we're about to experience from things you could recognize from your Transformers knowledge, I'm already captivated, because like I just recognize this lettering, I recognize this the crazy hair, I recognize this art style, and I'm back, right. I'm back in another chapter of whatever this man is selling. But At Hangers Rock, the teens share dreams for the future. Spike reveals he's been accepted to Berkeley to pursue Jimmy's astronaut ambitions, though he hasn't told Sparky. Carly confides her struggles to afford art school. As they grow closer, an earthquake suddenly splits the mountain, cock blocks, and sends them tumbling into a massive alien spacecraft buried below. They wake inside its vast booster, discovering a control room filled with mangled robot corpses. So yeah, Spike obviously trying to follow in his brother's footsteps, something that Sparky is not down with. We still don't know why. I guess you can kind of put two and two together. Something has gone on with Jimmy, the astronaut son, and it was so devastating that the father wants Spike to have nothing to do with being an astronaut. But as they talk about other planets and as they talk about us, I'm like, you guys have no idea what you're about to get yourselves into. It's Luke Skywalker looking at the twin sunset, right? And just being like, right. I wonder what's out there. Oh, you'll find out. You lose an arm, but you'll find out.
Stand by. I mean, it was just great seeing that classic scene, because again, in the animated series, and I'm pretty sure even in the original comic back in the Marvel days. Quick little history on that.
Yeah.
The toys were created long before the animated series or even the comic book. The toys were Japanese toys that American advertisers looked at and said, hey man, we could turn this into something. They quickly turned that into a comic book, and while they were doing that, they were making the animated series. They didn't let anyone talk to each other. The only thing they had in common was they knew the names. They were like, oh, okay, this is going to be Optimus Prime. This is going to be Starscream. This is going to be Ironhide, and so on, so on. Mm-hmm. But as far as like the stories of these characters, the comic book goes in a different direction than the animated series. The animated series, of course, they knew they had to keep it G-rated.
Yeah.
Couldn't go too ham. Couldn't be too adult. Whereas the comic book, I mean, even though the comics code did exist, they were able to push the envelope a bit more, and they were more willing to, because it was almost like they knew they weren't going to get as much backlash than a 30-minute cartoon that people would see every day in their households. People had to go out of their way to buy the comics. So there are a lot of similarities in the opening sequence of both shows, but where they go, so different, and the maturity level of the cartoon versus the comic book were so different. I never read the original comic book as a kid, but looking back on some of the stuff that happens versus what happens in the animated series, it was so crazy how different it goes. So, and then seeing it now redone here, where kind of both things are brought together, is very, very fun, and it's just, but at the same time refreshing, because again, Daniel Warren Johnson is spinning his take on it now. So this is great to see.
I also wonder if you get away with doing more to these characters because they're robots. We get emotive faces and stuff, but like chunks are flying. You wouldn't see that in a normal comic book. Chunks of people, someone's being beaten to death with their arm or something like that. Like there's a lot that happens here that I'm like, Oh, he's having fun because he can have fun. Imagine if he
Right.
had to write this about Captain America or something like
Yeah.
that. Like this would be way more rough.
Yeah. Wouldn't be happening.
But yeah, let's get with all these robot corpses. A sleek jet descends and transforms. Jetfire, relieved to find his fallen allies, activates Teletran 1 to repair them. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, the Teletran.
Teletran 1. So this is a very famous.
Yeah, this is the computer system that guided them on their planet as well as on the ship to. Well, they were headed. They were trying to find energon on the universe. They end up crash landing on Earth. When it gets turned back on, it repairs the transformers indiscriminately.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what side. So they're just trying to, first revived is Starscream, who thanks Jetfire and then immediately kills Bumblebee, or at least just shoots a dead Bumblebee in the head.
Yeah, which was such a immediate game changer, because like the preview image I got behind me, this one and one other came out a few months before the comics came out, and everyone kind of said, "Where's Bumblebee?"
Yeah,
because I mean, besides Optimus, that character has been at the forefront of the Transformers the last 20 years easily. I mean, he had his own movie.
Yeah.
But it seems like off the bat, Daniel Warren Johnson was just like, look, I want to show you that this is different. And not only am I going to show you how it's different, my man's going to get his face blasted off while he's sleeping. Like, whoa, what are we getting into here? It was crazy to see. And even Jetfire, which again, all comes from Robert Kirkman and Daniel Warren Johnson building this universe. Jetfire showed up in the first issue of Void Rivals.
Okay.
When this whole thing started, the whole Energon universe started. It started in Void Rivals, Robert Kirkman's book, and the first issue, a lot of people kind of again slept on because they were just like, what is this? What is this Kirkman story going to be about? Who cares? But it took off just because Jetfire showed up on like one page. The two heroes in that story are on the run, and they stumble across Jetfire. They like turn him on. He's like in a hibernation, so to speak. And he literally just turns on, looks at them, and just says, "I got to find Optimus. I was sent on a mission to find like Energon or something."
Yeah, he mentions that mission later on,
and he just takes off. And then the story within Void Rivals just continues,
right?
And all that told people was, so this isn't just going to be like a Void Rivals comic and a Transformers comic and a Rumblings of a G.I. Joe comic. This is going to be somehow a shared universe. And from that issue, Void Rivals has taken off. Transformers has blown up unbelievably. And now we're getting into G.I. Joe. Whew, it's unbelievably fun.
What I think is interesting is that they did something that's kind of tropey in these in stories like this, right? There's always the insane show of force by the villain, right? Where usually it's because some low level henchman has messed something up, so that he's got to get his head smashed in a car door or thrown off a roof, or something that's supposed to say like this guy isn't to be messed with. I love that Starscream. That's the very first thing, like the very first thing, and then. To show you how intense this moment is, you have other Transformers reacting. It'd be one thing if it was just him by himself having this moment, and it's like, okay, what? But his horrific nature is quite often, many times, commented on by those around him. So we're led to believe that he's a different breed of cruel. He's not just a soldier in this war. Yeah, bad things happen, you lose limbs, etc. He seems to relish in this, and he also seems to relish in trying to be the leader of the Decepticons, but it's one of those things where if you have to say that this many times, it's kind of making me believe you're not really buying it. But I guess we'll talk about that as we continue. Jetfire, unaware of their centuries-long war, tries to intervene, but is branded a traitor by Starscream. The chaos intensifies as Optimus Prime is revived and protects Spike and Carly while battling Starscream.
Oof.
As Skywarp and the Decepticons are restored, Prime orders a retreat. Spike and Carly heroically retrieve Prime's ion blaster, enabling him to disable Teletran 1, stopping further Decepticon revivals. Starscream is immediately very intense with his anti-Autobot rhetoric.
Yeah, but I these panels, like you mentioned earlier, especially it shows just how much he loves these characters, but also how much this man really loves wrestling.
Yeah,
The first move the Optimus hits Starscream with is the clothesline, a la Bradshaw from back in the
yeah.
APA days, and
Mm-hmm.
then he hits him with a suplex. I
Clean
was like,
German man.
man, this was it was so fun because classically you the Transformers shoot their guns, they do some punches, you don't see them move like this. The way he draws them, you can feel their movements and
Yeah,
seeing again because we remember how much we love do a power bomb. So seeing him basically have them move in the same ways as wrestlers, so much fun to see. I mean, that clothesline was is so it's so good to see. I loved it.
yeah. That's a pretty good big boot later on by Starscream.
Oh
But that's what I find. I find that when he wants you to have explicit detail in what's going on in these action scenes, he does it. But then there's also moments where things happen in a flash, in a quick,
yeah,
in the quickest moments, and all that stuff behind are flames and smoke, and for a lot of this stuff. Even in this moment, things have ramped up quite some bit. We've only turned
yeah,
a couple of pages, and there's a bunch of skyscraper tall robots seemingly fighting to the death. And it's not like our heroes won. We basically retreated.
yeah.
So
And they had to destroy part of their ship
to do
in
so,
order to limit the damage. I mean,
yeah,
that was huge. You only got what 4 or 5 total Transformers. You got what I think Soundwave, Starscream, and Skywarp versus Optimus and Ratchet.
yeah.
I think, and that's it. You're just like, whoa! And I was blowing up Teletran 1 in the original series and even the comic. Teletran like revives like everybody before they before anything
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
hits the fan. And this is just like, no, we got to cut this shit off now, and boom, and all right, Autobots, let's roll out. Let's get the hell out of here, man. Like, what is going on?
Interesting. So, like you said, he's redefining what people know, trying to playing their
Right.
logic, their knowledge against them. Um, because then you would just be like, okay, well, obviously, if they're introducing Teletron, then we can expect this to be around for multiple. We don't even really have to care about anyone really dying because they could just be resurrected through with this machine, and they get rid of it in the first issue. So yeah, really, really tough stuff here. The Autobots escape, but Jetfire is mortally wounded, covering their retreat. In an abandoned quarry, Optimus tries to save him with the Matrix of Leadership, but Jetfire succumbs, lamenting Cybertron's downfall. Optimus mourns his old friend's sacrifice. Yeah, this really gets to Optimus. This was somebody who made it his mission to find his energon and save, I guess those that are worth saving on Cybertron, and ultimately falls short and confesses that to a man he really respects.
Yeah.
And refuses to be. I mean, multiple people are trying to put Optimus first. They believe he's the best of them, the leader, the general. But to what end? How many of his friends need to die before
Right. Yeah.
before things happen? I like that. I just like that they introduced that question or just that logic altogether. And I like later on when he's kind of read the riot act for being a human lover.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's you've probably experienced this, having gone overseas, and you sit there and go, the person in charge, should they be in charge? Do they deserve to be in charge? How much good, how much bad has happened under their leadership?
Hmm.
So it hits you, and Optimus, he just awoke surrounded by essentially the corpses of his troops,
Yeah.
and he wakes up to see one of his probably his favorite troops, Bumblebee, with his face blown off,
Hmm.
and immediately he has to sacrifice his ship and what seems like the potential resurrections of his troops, because that's what has to happen. The shit is hitting like he wakes up. Just imagine, right? You wake up. You ever have that? You sleep for a good long time. You wake
Yeah.
up, and the first thing you realize is you're late for work.
You're all disoriented. Yeah.
You're all disordered. This guy's not late for work, man. The war is kicking right back off, and he's just got to kick right back into action. So it's a hard thing to see, and you gather from this that Jetfire left before the war really kicked off on Cybertron. Like he was
Yeah.
trying to save everybody on the planet, because when he sees Starscream, he sees him and thinks, "Oh, like that's my old ally," which is kind of cool because that is a callback to the animated series. At least I'm not sure how much of the comic book followed this, but in the animated series, they were friends.
Okay.
It shows that in their backstory that they were friends, they were scientists, and something happens to Jetfire where he ends up leaving Cybertron and crash landing like on Earth, and they find him on Earth millions of years later. And then when he wakes, he's just like, well, Starscream's my friend, so I'll be with him. But then he realizes, okay, Starscream, you're evil, sadistic bastard. And that's kind of like what happens immediately here. He sees him. Oh no, you're my old partner. Wow. Oh, you just shot me in the stomach, man. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What did I miss? A lot.
And it's got to be weird because you would perceive that Jetfire is doing what he can for his people, to then only realize that they're killing each other. He's trying to save as many, Cybertronian lives as possible, and half of them are quite fine with the other half not existing. Right. So it's very interesting to have those kind of things be at odds. Back at the Ark, Starscream fumes as Soundwave reports Teletron 1 is beyond repair without Energon. Reluctantly, Starscream takes charge and begins harvesting energy himself. At a nearby power plant, he encounters Sparky and Davy. Sparky hides while Starscream captures and cruelly kills Davy, mocking the weakness of humanity. Sparky listens in horror as Starscream's laughter fills with delight. This is one of those things of like where a child doesn't know his own strength sort of situations. I'm like, this is not going to end well, but will they go there? And they do. He just squishes this man. And I think it's really important that they do it this way to show the scope and the scale. And so you can really see how like insignificant we would be in a world where these guys are stomping around. That's how easily we are to take care of. Later on, it happens even worse when the military tries to intervene. But this is the first step of like, yeah, no, we're not equipped for this fight. We're gonna let these guys do it on their own because we're not equipped. But what do you think about this moment of cruelty here by Starscream?
Oh, I mean, Starscream in the show, and I'm not sure how much translated again to the comic books because I didn't read the original comics, but in the show, he was this whiny, like, he's like
Ebony Maw, isn't he? Isn't he like just the kind of like the right hand guy who's constantly
he's the right hand guy, but he snivels. He's constantly trying to overthrow Megatron, but then gets put in his place immediately every time. Yeah, I mean, eventually Megatron does kill Starscream way down the line, but if you watch like the first 30 episodes of the original series, like almost every other episode starts, I am now the leader of the Decepticons, and Megatron just shut up, man. You're not leading anything. The fact that this one starts off immediately with him in charge and just doing awful stuff, because like again in the original cartoon, they didn't kill anybody. People got they got shot. Oh, I got grazed. I'm hurt a little bit. Yeah. He wakes up and blows Bumblebee's face off. And
we're led to believe that Bumblebee was not even operative. He wasn't even alive.
Yeah, he's just dead.
That's just
how crazy
shitty to be shitty kind of stuff. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He then shoots a guy who the first thing the person says to her, Jetfire says to him is, "Oh, my friend, Starscream." Wow. Oh, what the hell? Yeah. And then he's just proceeding to get into a fight. He tries to kill Spike and Carly, and then he proceeds to go down to this place and just literally treat this human like a pimple. He squishes him just like nothing, and it's just, whoa, this is not our childhood Decepticons, who just broke some walls and stole some energon. They're stepping and puking, just popping humans.
Yeah, we're ants to see. Absolutely ants to them. And what I love is that then we go from that very horrific scene to Optimus walking through the forest, and he's seemingly in love with Earth and its beauty, its vibrant plants, its animals, the serenity. His awe is shattered when he accidentally crushes a small deer, steps right on it. He's stricken with guilt, and he kneels to cradle the lifeless creature. Spike emerges, assuring him it was an accident, but Optimus laments the fragility of the world compared to Cybertron. And like he's bummed, and he will be bummed for quite some time. We literally saw another, a Transformer kill somebody and have not even a second thought about it. So we're very clearly shown the line between these two, the leader of the Decepticons and the leader of the Autobots. And one of the things that I think Johnson does a very good job with in the portrayal of Optimus is any leader in this sort of situation, there is no 100% right answer. And people are going to be fighting you all the way to every answer. Maybe he shouldn't have retreated. Maybe they should have, but then maybe they could have lost more people. But then maybe they would have gotten somebody else down on that side and even out the numbers. It's a constant gamble, and you're gambling with the lives of the people you care about constantly, all the time. Every choice that you make, every operation that you end up signing off on is a opportunity for things to go terribly wrong and you not have a team anymore. So you would think that after decades of this war, these two warring factions, that the loss of life would be something that's elementary to him. But even that, like he is sad that our Earth is so fragile, that things die so easily. I started to really get what I say often about the best portrayals of Superman in this Optimus. I started to get those sort of feelings of like that he cares about humanity. That he's in awe of it almost in its imperfect nature. Maybe he believes that we're more than meets the eye, but he that care that he takes in not just brushing us off as literally a swarm of ants, really helps you ingratiate yourself to the character. And in moments like this, right, really are character moments to help us better understand Optimus. But it could have been, when I first read it, I laughed. I thought it was quite humorous watching a humongous Transformer stomp out a deer by mistake and be like, oh, whoops. But what do you think about this moment here, this personal moment with Optimus?
No, again, I can totally hear Peter Cullen's voice, right? The way he describes Earth, and he looks around, he's in awe of this, which is astounding because anybody on Earth was going to see him and be in awe of him. Like totally. There's a giant robot talking, and he's walking around like looking at it, and the way he describes it, the way he talks about how like the ground beneath him bends on his steps, and he leaves tracks. Whereas on Cybertron, everything's metal, everything's hard, everything's the hard edge. Whereas Earth is this soft place, and he immediately recognizes the beauty, and he takes on the responsibility of, I have to take care of this place, right? He recognizes I Spike and Carly. I have to make sure that they're okay. Me just walking around, I'm killing things, so I have to be careful, and I want to be careful, which, like you said, is the complete opposite of what Starscream's doing. Starscream's showing up, boom, squish one human, stomp a car, steal the energy. Who cares? I'm not trying to enjoy any of this. I'm trying to accomplish a task.
100%.
Optimus is looking at it like, no, I have to tend to this, and it's a beautiful thing. And again, just like the fact that Johnson captures the voice of Optimus so beautifully that I can hear Peter Cullen. It makes it's like a home feeling. Like, oh, I know this. I love it.
You could definitely hear that voice saying these lines in here, and the pauses and the breaks. There's no wasted dialogue with Optimus. Everything is for a reason. Sensing his despair, Spike shifts the conversation, acting about Optimus's name. Optimus explains that the title of Prime signifies his role as the Autobots' leader, a mantle passed down by the previous Primes. Curious, Optimus inquires about Spike's name. Spike shares how his mother, who passed away with him, used to call him Spiky because of his unruly hair. Optimus is unfamiliar with the terms mom and dad, but he does understand the concept of family, which I dug. Like I said, he's just like us. These robots are just like us.
You know, I love it. Like they're getting to know each other, and they, even though one's a skyscraper and one's just this teenage kid, they're finding common ground. It's a nice thing. It shows, and it, like for me, for so long, I didn't care about human characters. Here, I'm caring about the human character, which I was like, wow, this guy's knocking it out the park every which way.
Starscream calls them like the squishies or whatever.
The squishies, yeah.
Humans, the squishies. I'm like, that's so dark.
Yeah, like oh.
When Spike asks about Cybertron, Optimus recounts the planet's downfall, a civil war between Autobots and Decepticons that forces people to flee aboard the Ark. Their escape was ambushed by Megatron, leading to a crash landing on Earth. Optimus thanks Spike for his bravery during the recent battle and offers condolences for Bumblebee's death. Their somber moment is interrupted by the newly revived Cliffjumper, who is visibly uneasy about Earth. His clumsiness amuses Carly, who calms him down with a quip about they should be the ones really freaking out. Inside the quarry, Ratchet works tirelessly to revive more Autobots, but has drained their Energon reserves fixing Cliffjumper. Optimus considers using the Matrix of Leadership to replenish their energy, but Ratchet warns that it will cost Prime his life, leaving the Autobots leaderless. Cliffjumper remarks that if they are low on Energon, the Decepticons likely face the same challenge. I feel like in all things I've seen, Optimus is always real quick to pop out this Matrix of Leadership and kill himself to get things done. Am I reading that the wrong way?
No,
so it's like,
he's selfless. He's selfless.
Yeah.
He understands what needs to get done. I mean, this is a rather dire situation where it's like, hey, if this is what I need to do, then let's do it. But Ratchet's no, man, we'll save that. Save the emergency button.
We're working on stuff over here.
We're working on something, because I mean, think about it. Think about the situation. They just woke up. Starscream's in control. He's a sadistic bastard. They're immediately outnumbered, outgunned. Optimus is just like, I gotta keep us alive. I already seen 1, 2, right? Bumblebee, Jetfire, gone. If he's got to sacrifice himself, because the guilt that's already weighing on him, right? They already failed their mission to go wherever it was to go, and then the Decepticons foiled that plan. Now he wakes up. He's missing bodies already. He's just like, screw this, man. If I got to sacrifice myself to ensure the Autobots continue, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. But they recognize his importance, They won't just let him jump on every grenade, or else there won't be anyone left to jump on grenades. Meanwhile, at the power plant, Sparky and Davy's workplace, a police officer investigates the wreckage from Starscream's earlier attack, dismissing the manager's story about a giant robot. Sparky's pleas to call the army are cut short when Skywarp descends, destroying the officer's patrol car. Starscream and Soundwave arrive with an energy transfer module stolen from the Ark, ready to siphon power. The officers attempt to fight back ends tragically as Starscream crushes him underfoot. Soundwave intercepts a military transmission calling for air support, prompting Starscream to engage. After a fierce dogfight, Starscream downs the fighter jet, killing the pilot mid-ejection, while the co-pilot escapes with a jetpack and injures Starscream with a flare shot before retreating. That's another just cruel moment.
Yes.
You're dealing with these humans in this little aircraft, and he is basically having fun. He's eating their lunch out there, and it gets to a point where they think that they are safe ejecting, and he just waits for them to come into eye line and squishes them.
It was like a harsh scene to see, right? The military's flying in thinking, okay, we're going to take care of this. And Starscream knows, you guys can't hang with this.
Yeah.
And the way he takes apart the jets and then just, like he says, the squishies, just like a gnat, just squish. And the cool reference that then comes about from that, where one of the pilot that does get a flare shot off at Starscream to get away, you caught that, right?
What do you do?
The name on the
I don't think I caught the name of the pilot. What's the name of the pilot?
Oh, that leads into G.I. Joe.
No!
The tag name on the person's outfit or uniform, my apologies, is Duke. And if you know anything about
Oh.
GI Joe, Duke is like the leader of the GI Joe. So this is now planting the seed for GI Joe.
And now we have somebody who's literally been on the ground with these
Right, right.
Transformers, has
And the
knowledge and
Duke,
experience.
the Duke miniseries that comes out of this
Yeah.
is so bananas.
I, yeah, I wouldn't even know how to react to surviving something like that.
And that's exactly what it is. That's what that series goes into. And he goes back and reports, and everyone's just like, "Yeah, a jet transformed and killed your co-pilot." Sure.
There's I got major Omni-Man vibes from Starscream in this moment. I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Warren Johnson borrowed a little bit from that very like that part where he's talking to Mark and the jet fighters come in and
Think about it.
he's like, this is what they have to do to mimic our, get a fraction of our power.
Fraction of her power.
And then those guys eject, right, to safety only for him to squishies, bro.
Just
Squishies. We're just bags of meat at the end of the day, I guess. But I'm seasoned. Back at the plant, Sparky commandeers a patrol car to escape Skywarp's pursuit. A crashing F-18 lands on Skywarp and Soundwave, creating an explosion visible from the Autobots' quarry. Realizing that the plant is under attack, Optimus resolves to confront the Decepticons, despite Ratchet's concerns about their dwindling resources. Optimus assigns Cliffjumper to protect the others and reluctantly allows Spike to accompany him, determined to help his father. Carly protests, urging Spike to return home with her, but he refuses. Left with no choice, Carly heads home alone. So, I mean, look, he had the girl, he had the dad, he went for the dad. Look at that. I mean, that's what he did. Whether or not that was the right thing to do.
Well, I mean, the girl is safe.
Yes, she is.
He knows. He's like, that's where my dad works.
Yeah.
Something's popping off. I got to go check on my dad.
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
Not at all.
I don't blame him.
Especially if you got the help of a literal transforming truck robot, man.
Exactly.
I'm down for that ride. As Carly arrives, Laserbeak spots her van and its hand-drawn image of Optimus Prime. At home, she finds Sparky in old army fatigues, armed and grim-faced. When she asks about Davy, Sparky quietly answers, "They killed him."
They killed him. Yeah. That's.
I was about to say, oh no, it's right into the next thing, so I might as well just say it. Carly, reeling from her father's death, asked Sparky how it happened. He explained Davy was crushed by a giant robot, and Carly, realizing that it must be Starscream. What a horrible death, and then there's no way to make him romanticize it more. Maybe he should have been he died trying to save my life.
Heroically.
Yeah, trying to save my life.
If not for him, I wouldn't have gotten away.
Yeah, but none of that.
Down fighting.
He got squished. I saw him get squished.
At least he just said killed. He didn't say squished. It would have been really bad. Your dad is a meat stain.
Absolutely.
Somewhere
ridiculous.
It's going to be a closed casket funeral.
Yes, definitely. We put it in a bucket. She starts telling Sparky about the Ark, but Laserbeak suddenly attacks. Sparky fires at the robotic bird, but is quickly overpowered. When Laserbeak corners Carly, Cliffjumper arrives and kicks Laserbeak away. However, Sparky mistakes Cliffjumper for a threat, shoots him with a shotgun, and flees with Carly in a commandeered police car.
That was vicious. The way he just takes the shotgun and puts it right to his temple.
Yes, after he just saved everyone's life. He just saved a bunch of people's lives.
He's just seeing it as, robots are robots. They're the bad guys right now. Yeah. I seen one of you squish her dad. You guys are now plowing into my house. I haven't been through the orientation to distinguish between this Autobot symbol and the
100%.
symbol. I'm just shoot first, ask questions later. We got to get the hell out of here.
Do you think at all that's going to be the G.I. Joe sort of take of all this? Is robots are robots? Or will they distinguish between good and bad? Who knows? Besides that, who knows? Anyway, at the Ark, Starscream berates Soundwave for failing to fix Teletran 1. Soundwave explains they lacked advanced materials despite having enough energon. When Soundwave mentions Megatron, Starscream angrily forbids it. A laser beak alert sends Skywarp to investigate. Yeah, he doesn't want people saying the M word around him. Which again, that screams confidence, right? That screams confidence when you can't even have the other person's name be mentioned, or else you'll flip out.
It reminds me of Princess Bride. Don't say that name.
Yes.
Yes.
And like I said, obviously, what most people are saying when they mention his name is that he would have done it better, or he wouldn't have done it this bad. And you know, it's one thing to not want the person whose job you are literally just taking to be mentioned, but to constantly be reminded that you're not doing it as good as him. The guy's already seemingly on a loose thread, and I don't think I don't think his teammates are helping him any. But Sparky takes Carly to a veterans bar, explaining that Decepticons are jamming communications, so they need backup. Inside, Danny and the other veterans form a militia. Carly tries to defend the Autobots, but Sparky insists all war ends in death. The argument is cut short when Cliffjumper enters and Sparky opens fire.
Again.
Always. Moments later, Skywarp arrives and the militia assumes he is Cliffjumper's ally, and they attack both robots. He's like, I think he says something like, just lay into both of them. Like,
lay into both of them. That's it.
And again, what chance are you going to take in this moment?
No, right. You know, like, one of them must be a good guy. One of them must be.
Let's try talking to them. Skywarp easily resists the humans' attacks, forcing Sparky and Danny to use a bazooka. Optimus and Spike arrive as the bar collapses. Optimus rams Skywarp in truck mode. That was pretty good. I consider that a spear.
That was right. That was such a beautiful splash page.
Yes.
He's in truck form. He just rams right into him. Skywarp just completely buckled, looking like a Roman Reigns victim.
That's it, bro. On a tremendous spear.
I could totally hear Jim. What was it?
JR?
Why am I? JR could totally. Oh my god!
Spear.
It was spear.
It
was such a great, like, that splash page was so beautiful, guys. Check it out.
And I think another thing that people need to remember when it comes to some of these more what you can consider a squeaky clean sort of protagonist, right, in Optimus, is that you can still make them be a badass. You can still make them do badass things, and people will take their vitamins, you know, with that spoonful of sugar. I feel like most of the time when it comes to characters like this, they make them almost boring on purpose, and they make them unrelatable. But Optimus, why did he do that in the truck form? Because that was the quickest way he was going to get that done.
That's right.
Like,
and he got it done.
and he got it done. So he knocks it on a truck form. He stands up, full transformer. He pulls out his Energon axe. So now I'm like, what's about to go down? I'm like, what's about to go down now? Like, we got the dirty fighting out of the way. Now we got the weapons out. What's going on?
That's it. And seeing that's a callback to the very first issue, perhaps, but at least the very first one or two episodes of Transformers, right? That's a classic battle where he has with Megatron. Megatron turns his fist into a mace, and Optimus turns his into an axe. So seeing it show up in this, I was like, oh, we're getting the axe. Like, this is, as far as I recall, I don't think any of the Michael Bay movies really did anything like this.
I think he had a sword at one point, perhaps.
Oh my god, The Last Night.
Perhaps, yes. I gotta rack my brain for 100%. I think I stopped after 2. I think I honestly the other ones, I don't have a memory of them. But I did see one. One was good. Transformers 1 was good. I recommend it to those who haven't seen it yet.
Highly recommend.
Skywarp uses teleportation to evade, but Optimus pins him and demands surrender. Before he can finish, Sparky and Danny fire the bazooka, severely damaging Optimus's arm. Skywarp regains the upper hand, blasting Optimus and targeting Spike, who is caught in the crossfires. As Skywarp moves to crush Spike, Optimus tackles him in desperation. Using his torn-off arm as a weapon, Optimus beats Skywarp into retreat.
It was great. Again, that
It
was another
was.
gorgeous splash page. I mean, think about the sacrifice he's willing to make right there. He recognizes the damn humans. You know, basically injure his arm.
Yeah.
He didn't even get a chance to get one good hack in with his axe.
No.
They injure his arm, and then Skywarp even laughs about it. He's like, "Man, these things are stupider than they don't know how stupid they are."
Yeah.
He then continues to just ravage his arm to the point where his arm is useless. But Optimus, in all his battle strategy, in this beautiful, again, another gorgeous splash page, he rips off his arm and like even on the page,
Yeah.
and he just proceeds to use it as a weapon and just beats the snot out of Skywarp with it.
At first, I thought they were doing a lethal weapon. I thought he was like popping his arm back in or whatever. No. Like I thought, and no, he just rips it off and beats him to death with it. Injured, Optimus carries Spike, now bleeding heavily. Sparky rushes towards them with a gun, shouting for Optimus to back off. Optimus transforms and tells Sparky to come with him, that he's going to go save his son. I thought that was tremendously done, watching Spike get shot up. I mean, why are you there? Like, first and foremost, like, these people have no indiscretion when it comes to where they're shooting, how they're shooting. And this kid, I feel like this is a trope that happens often, but it always catches me. Literally every time, right? It's like a bunch of bullets go off, you think everything is fine, and then you find out that one hit.
That's it.
Somebody that we care about, or the protagonist.
At least he was lucky. At least he was lucky that it was a bullet. What if it was a laser blast, or worse, a foot?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Squish.
I'm surprised Optimus is like, that's a flesh wound. What are you talking about? I just ripped my arm off. He'll be okay.
That's right. Come on now. You should be fine.
In your mind, why does Optimus take him back? Why does Optimus care? Why does Optimus try to find help for him?
Because, I mean, he recognizes the fragility of this world, and he's already made a relationship with this person, and he cares. You know, he doesn't want to just get off this planet, or doesn't. He gives a damn. He's the hero of the story, and he feels bad. He's just like, no, I wanted to protect you and your family, because I understand we're fighting for family also. You're fighting for your family. I have to protect you guys. This is what I'm here for. I give a damn. I don't want there. If he didn't care, he'd just be firing willy-nilly, stomping all over the place. Who cares? But that's not what Optimus is about. Optimus gives a damn. And that's the beauty of the character. I mean, he's known at this point. He's known these characters for what, 2 hours, 3 hours.
I think that it is poetic, beautiful, and even that the relationship between the Autobots and the and humans started with a like symbol of empathy, or like it was Spike and Carly getting that gun over to Optimus to save his life, when they kind of didn't have to. They didn't know again, like robots are robots. These guys are all. What if all the Autobots killed all the Decepticons and were like, now the humans are next? Like,
right.
We got rid of one threat. It's their blind faith that he was doing something good that is being repaid in this moment as well. And sometimes that's what life is about. That's what empathy is about, right? It's like somebody's bleeding out on the street. I'm not asking them what the worst thing they ever did in their life was. I'm not Googling them to make sure, either I'm going to help them or I'm not. And I think Optimus is the type to help. And in this moment, I also perceive that he sees him as a soldier. Somebody who rallied up with him to do this right out in the first place, and now is somebody injured. And that means that Optimus is in charge of that. So really, again, like to have one of these Transformers look at all of us and throw us all under the same sort of, umbrella, being these squishy, worthless ants. And then for Optimus to feel like as an equal with one of them, or treat one as he would a member of his own army, speaks in volumes to the level of empathy that Optimus has. So, gotta keep him alive. Save the cheerleader, save the world. After that's going on the schedule one of these days, bro. Get ready. After the battle in Farmingham, Starscream confronts the wounded Skywarp, who directs him to the Autobots' location before Starscream departs. promising to return. I thought that was hilarious, right? Because he's like dying out, and Starscream's like, "I'll be right back." He's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Hey, just don't worry, chill out. I'll be right back."
You're good. You're good. You're good.
He bounces out. At the quarry, Ratchet works on Wheeljack when Optimus calls for help, uh, driving a gravely injured Spike and Sparky through the woods, pursued by Starscream. A blast from Starscream damages Optimus, cutting off the transmission. Ratchet realizes the Autobots need more firepower. Meanwhile, Starscream lands in front of Optimus, but Carly and Cliffjumper arrive to knock Starscream down, allowing Optimus to run him over and escape. Enraged, Starscream calls Soundwave for backup. So this is the second time we've got to tag in a run over. Like he's got to be over this whole situation.
I love the tire like gets him right in the face. Like, yes, peels out right on Starscream's face.
And again, like they have teeth. Like, like they squint and they yell. Like you're talking about all these very human emotions that don't really seemingly make sense. So if we're gonna live in that world, why not throw in a Death Valley Driver or a Big Boot or a German suplex? What does it really matter at the end of the day when some of these guys have? Look at my picture. He has teeth. What's that about? He's not eating anything.
They eat. They eat. What are you talking about?
I thought they just put Energon in them. Don't just put.
No, they turn it into steaks.
Ah, I get it. Is that what crypto is? Is that what cryptocurrency is? I'm thinking I'm learning a whole new thing. There you go. The market. After the hospital, Optimus and Cliffjumper try to protect Sparky, Carly, and the medical staff from Laserbeak's attack. However, Rumble and Soundwave quickly overpower them. And then this bastard, Starscream's like, you know what I should do? I should blow up the hospital.
Yo, just like I'm certain, like just no regard. Like Optimus is trying to save the one kid that he's like bound to, and Starscream's just like, yeah, blow up the hospital.
He's like, so you care about this place, and you're trying to send him over here? I'll just blow it up. I care not. Nope. And it's funny because we know, even though, how I'm going to put this, I'll just put it plainly. We know that that's one of the most evil things someone can do. Is to target a hospital. Right. And Johnson knows that, and that's why he puts Starscream in this position.
That's right.
Anytime you're starting to wonder about how much of a jerk or a piece of trash, he's doing the Oz Cobb of it all. Every time you seemingly want to give him some credit just for being like good at being a tactician, you're reminded that he's a very petty, very sad, very angry Transformer that doesn't really deserve to be on this planet. But just as he plans to destroy the hospital to make Optimus' death more painful. Just as the power goes out, Jazz arrives and takes down the Decepticons. I was very happy to see Jazz.
Yeah, fan favorite. Always.
Outnumbered, Starscream orders a retreat, and so like we've seen multiple retreats, we've seen multiple like fights. Fronts on different fronts. No one's like winning. This is like real war. Like one's like people are lucky to get by with their limbs and maybe somebody that they came with. But people are falling by the wayside crazy out here.
And I think about it. It's only been a few hours.
Yeah.
Maybe what at this point, maybe like 6 hours have passed at most. And
right.
The Cybertronian war is just on Earth. Things are kicking off. A few humans already bit the dust. A couple of Autobots have already bit the dust. A Decepticon that got the crap kicked out of him already. It's hitting the fan and hitting the fan fast.
And now this entire hospital's without power. You're literally seeing people on operation tables in the middle of emergencies, life support, all that stuff. All the power goes out. It's terrifying. And the doctors inform Sparky that Spike's chances are slim because they ain't got no damn power. As Optimus opens the matrix of leadership, its energy powers the hospital, saving Spike and the other patients. Meanwhile, back at the Ark, Soundwave chastises Starscream for failing again and criticizes him for not prioritizing repairs to Teletran 1. Frustrated, Starscream and Soundwave begin dismantling Skywarp. And it's been like kind of planned that they're going to cannibalize.
Yeah,
these fallen.
Yeah,
Uh,
because they're looking at it like, look, use the parts, the how do you say how do you say the sum is greater than the parts, so
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
speak. So that he's
yeah.
looking at it like, look, we can take these
The parts
guys
are greater than the sum because half the sum is dead.
right. Like, man, you're dead. We had a whole bunch of bodies around here. I'm gonna use this to make something better. And
Yeah.
boy does he. And it just again just adds to that sadistic layer to Starscream. Like and this is a Starscream that's pulling it off. Like for me, like I said, in the animated series back in the day, Starscream never accomplished shit.
Yeah.
So seeing him at this level, getting stuff done, getting like tagging up bodies was just like wow. Like this is crazy to see. And so seeing him get away with all of this now, it's just heinous. Like, wow, like, okay, because the whole time I'm sitting there going, at what point is Megatron going to show up,
Yeah.
put him in his
And
place?
pull
And it's not
rank.
happening. It's
No.
not happening. I mean, he kicks, just to show you how much of an evil bastard he is, he kicks Ravage, which
Yeah.
is Soundwave's dog. He's like, you're trying to fix the dog? We
Yeah. The
got
little.
better ones to
Why would
fix.
you? Like he says, like, why would the first one be the littlest one that you work on?
Right.
And he kicks him
And,
again. Like telltale signs of being an a hole, right? Kicking
right.
animals, blowing up hospitals.
That's it. Blowing up hospitals. Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
He gets
Uh,
it.
at the hospital, Sparky talks to Spike, expressing his desire to protect him from a world he's lost hope in. He observes Optimus now interacting with a young patient and asks about the Matrix. Optimus explains it's a gift he's had for years and he used it to save Spike, though Sparky finds it hard to believe Optimus has faith in God when Optimus seems like a god himself. But this is all perspective
Right.
because Optimus sees us maybe not as gods, but as a miracle of some sort. The idea
Right.
that we would be so small, but in his words, so mighty.
No,
Uh,
it's just that again, that humanizing aspect. So he doesn't see them as insignificant. He sees that they have merit, that they have value, even though like Sparkplug says to him, "Yeah, you're like a god to us," and he's just like, "We're all living, we all live." And then even the way he talks about what does he call the Autobot god, the great Spark?
yeah, yeah, yep.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
and
that. Like ever since the first spark,
the
and
first
then
Spark,
the
right?
great spark. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I think like you said again. I think it just kind of really makes you root for Optimus. But he's shown in all these areas to be like so calm and compassionate. Like people like, hey, what's up? He has little ass patients that walk by him and ask him questions, and he
Yeah.
humbles
Oh,
them.
you could transform into a truck, and then when he
Yeah.
transforms back, oh, you can transform back.
Yeah, yeah, he's just having a blast with these people. A moment of I wouldn't even call it relaxation, but a moment without war, a moment without death and without casualties. And he's not above anybody here, even though he quite literally is above everybody here.
Yeah. And it's what he says when they say to him, like, man, you use the Matrix for them. And he's just like, I'm tired of people dying.
Yeah,
I'm tired of it. I'm trying to save people. I'm miserable at it, apparently. So I'm going to save some people. And he does.
yeah,
Even if he knows it's going to eventually potentially cost him his life and potentially the lives of the Autobots. In this moment, he's just like, I can't see not just Spike die, but potentially everybody in this hospital. I'm not going to have that on my conscience.
right. In the generator room, Ratchet, Jazz, and Optimus discuss the Autobots' dire energy situation. Ratchet criticizes Optimus for using the Matrix to power the hospital rather than fixing himself, but Optimus insists that the humans needed saving. Ratchet reveals that he used up all the available energon to revive Jazz, and Optimus is faced with the tough reality that they might need to resort to desperate measures. As Ratchet suggests using something in Optimus's trailer, Sparky interrupts with a possible solution to their energy problems. Is Ratchet right here? Is he just
No,
is he just saying the cold hard smack, or is he just
that's it. He's that's the character of Ratchet. I mean, Ratchet cares about the Autobots. He sees it as how are we have to worry about ourselves. The humans are caught in the crossfire. Who cares? Optimus is like, no, man, life is life, and I'm not going to stand by here and keep watching life be extinguished.
yeah?
We have to preserve everybody. So get with the program, Ratchet. Okay, I'm pretty sure you
But
had
I
some
could,
sort of
I could see that, but I would also see like if you've been in the midst of this war for this long, the idea that your general is now having a bit of a soft spot for this random species that y'all literally just met might cause a little bit of at least
yeah,
frustration.
yeah.
At least
I understand.
frustration, yeah.
I get it. I get it.
But I like that he has people that are willing to at least help him question some of the stuff that he does. Because, like I said again, any one of these decisions could be the end of the Autobots if not thought well, if not executed well.
Right.
Meanwhile, Cliff Jumper consoles Carly, sharing his experience of losing his own family to Starscream before the war. Excuse me. And offers her support. Optimus, now equipped with a new arm-mounted cannon, which isn't that old boy's arm-mounted cannon? I was about to say.
Even when he says when it's first brought to him, it was in his trailer. He's like, "I'm not going to use that. Like, are you out of your mind?" He's like, "These are desperate times, man."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it also gives you a hint of, well, if you have that person's arm, where is that person?
Yes. And wherever that person is, he's nowhere near his arm. uh, and Cliff Jumper asks if he's ready for the offensive this time. At the Ark, Starscream continues to salvage
Mhm.
Skywarp, declaring himself the future Decepticon leader. Elsewhere, a damaged Megatron lies, partially frozen in ice, missing his right arm. So he's the Captain America of this story.
That's it. And well, yeah, it was exciting to see because it's like, well, is he going to show up soon? What's going to happen with Megatron? We just get this one panel of Megatron, like frozen in ice. Like, what is going on? How did he get there? What is happening? And the fact that Optimus has Megatron's arm and I believe it's a Gatling cannon. I think
Yeah.
that's what they call it. Oh man, like Optimus with that on his arm.
Oh, wow.
It was like,
We see what he's able to do with it later on, man.
woo!
My gosh. Um, I like the reveal of Megatron in this because it literally comes after a cackling Starscream is like, I will be the leader of the Decepticons forever. Like today, tomorrow, and always. And then it immediately cuts to the most famous leader of the Decepticons of all time.
What
Just
he
to
say?
remind you, yeah, just to remind you what's out there. Um, Optimus and Sparky share their personal reflections on their respective wars. Sparky, burdened by the immense scale of Optimus's experience, asks why the conflict must persist. Optimus, warned by his own doubt, admits that even he's not sure. Staring at his reflection with Megatron's arm replacing the missing one, Prime wonders if he's becoming the very thing he fights against. And that's what happens. It's that whole war for peace thing, right? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
freedom
uh,
fighters.
yeah, 100%.
No, I mean those panels were powerful because
100, yes.
there's like no words said. Johnson lets his art tell the story, and it's like kind of like how in the previous issue Optimus was like, look, we're all life, and they're going through the same misfire, so to speak. You got
Hmm.
Optimus sitting there trying to save the Autobots existing in his war. They're showing Sparkplug going through his war, and we're also getting more of an understanding of what it is he's been through. Like, oh, okay, you're a war veteran. You've held your comrades in arms in your hands, and even though there are no words, you can tell that him and Optimus are sharing stories. They're
Yeah.
basically of how long they've been going at this, and even though one is at this point probably a million-year-old robot versus a 40-year-old man, they're seeing eye to eye. They understand each other, and it's beautifully told.
It
Beautifully
is.
told.
And, you know, it's again another level of compare and contrast having Optimus not just gleefully say like, "Oh yeah, we've been doing this for a while, and I've killed so many Decepticons." You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's one way to take it. I've heard people talk that way. You know, but he walks away with all these experiences with doubt, still wondering if
Yeah,
he's doing the right thing, and at some points even having a level of empathy towards the Decepticons. Whereas we just saw Starscream is like, no, they're all like that is the symbol of the traitor. They're all the absolute worst. They need to be eradicated from this planet.
Right.
And yeah, just seeing how these two leaders operate, it's quite evident why people would follow Optimus into the desert for 40 years, whereas everyone's second guessing everything that Starscream is doing.
Yeah, for real.
Because again, he doesn't foster trust. Nothing. Again, when
No.
like it's one of those things where if you're helping him cannibalize Decepticons, at what point are you like? It goes to that. That's the joke, right? Like, well,
Right.
he's not doing it to me.
He's not doing it to me, so it's okay.
Yeah,
You know, he's like, man, you're kicking my dog. You're taking apart our comrades. You're dragging corpses around. You're just laughing about it. You smack us around if we bring up the previous regime.
yeah,
What's going on?
yeah. At what point are you now going to be thrown under the bus whenever he feels like you've lost your usefulness?
Right.
I feel like that's right around the corner. Back at the Ark, the Decepticons use Teletran 1, now rebuilt using parts of Skywarp's body to revive their comrades. Thundercracker is there, and he's horrified by Skywarp's condition, but Starscream justifies it as a sacrifice for the Decepticon cause. Laserbeak alerts Soundwave that the Autobots have discovered their energy source, prompting Starscream to lead an attack with Soundwave. Thundercracker and the newly revived Frenzy and Reflector are these red shirts.
In the animated series, no,
Okay.
but they are here.
Because like some of these
No.
I recognized, but some of them I didn't, and I was like, "Am I supposed to pop for them, or is this supposed to be like a Nikki, Mikey?" You know?
It's a see for you as a person who's not a fan, yes. For me, I was like, oh, because Frenzy is basically the color swap Rumble. That's all it
Okay.
is. Another reason to sell another toy, like
Right.
just another toy. And then you get Reflector, who as a kid was what? You get a transformer that turns into a camera that you can almost kind of use. It was an amazing thing, And then you get in the color swap, the other color swap Starscream instead of Skywarp. Now you got Thundercracker. It's like, oh man, this is amazing. This is so cool to see these guys. Daniel Warren Johnson is kind of like a George R. Martin right now. He's just like, I'm giving you these characters.
They ain't gonna last long.
Do not like hold on to them.
Yes. But it is very quickly, like we've already said that this whole thing has kind of picked up in seconds. Like this, just the action and then the stakes, everything doubling and tripling. And now the enemy has grown twice in size as far as rank, their rank and file is concerned. So I'm already like, we don't have one of those over there. We're not reviving people on the other side. So what's going to happen here? I'm going to assume Sparkplug was a whiz with electronics in the animated.
I mean, him and Spike were construction workers, so they weren't necessarily engineers, but their knowledge of being able to build things and tools, along with working with characters like Ratchet and Wheeljack, they were able to, work together really well. So I felt like in this, he makes them a bit smarter. I mean, by saying, hey, Spike is on the verge of going to like astronaut school, and that Sparky has this military background along with this engineering background and construction and whatnot, just adds to the depth of their character and the knowledge that these characters bring. They're not just grunts.
Yeah. And they're not just useless humans
Right.
either. Like one could say that, handing Optimus his weapon at that time was obviously needed, but past that, maybe we, haven't really been helping all that much. But having Sparky be a competent technician, I think helps our cause a little bit more. Like we're not all useless squishies. Some of us know some.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Some of us know our sine, cosine. And I'm about to go on a tangent here because meanwhile, at the local dam, Sparky helps Ratchet and a partially revived Wheeljack. Oh, I like Wheeljack's half. He's half of him, right? It's the top half.
Yeah.
He's like, I need my second body.
I need some legs.
Yeah, this is some garbage. Optimus prioritizes the revival of their fellow Autobots, but he also revives his boo. I feel like there was a little bit
Well,
of
it's
preferential
not. It's not.
treatment.
It's not his boo.
That's not
It's
his
not his
boo.
boo. No.
I'm looking at all this sideways. All right, I'm looking at all this
Like
sideways.
that's pretty
Talk,
convenient. It's
talk.
pretty
Yeah, yeah,
convenient.
yeah. Then this will be the first one, the one with the boobs. Tell me about Tell me about RC. What do I not know? What should I know about RC? Especially
Ours,
Transformers One.
yeah, yeah. I mean, RC in depending on the iteration of Transformers that you follow has been a great warrior and a classic character in her own right. She, from my knowledge, she first appeared in the Transformers animated movie back in 1985, 1986.
Mm-hmm.
And she was more of a character called Springer's girl. There weren't many female robots, which you kind of think like, why would there be? But there was a few brought into the animated series before RC.
Okay.
Early on in the animated series, I guess they were trying to get girls to watch it, so they introduced like 3 or 4 like this femme force of Autobot women on Cybertron.
Were they called that? Did you just make that up?
I just made that up.
Oh, okay. I was ready. That's just bad PR right there. Come see Fed Force.
Femme force, yeah.
Oh
No,
my
no.
God.
I forget all their names, but the main one was Alita One. That's Optimus's boo.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
How it'll play out in this, I'm not sure, because like in Transformers One, it seems like RC is going. Wait, it's RC right in
Yeah.
Transformers One?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. It seems like in this new iteration of Transformers, it seems like that will be his boo. But in this, I'm hoping it's not because spoilers, Alita One does come into the fold later on. So I like to think that Optimus will hook up with her.
Literally hook up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I like that, she just get resurrected, but like as soon as she gets resurrected, the Decepticons attack, and instead of being like disoriented, she's like, "Oh, y'all woke me up for this. Like, y'all woke me up to
Yeah.
all right,
Like,
but what was about to go down. Let's handle this." And I'm like, "Yeah, let's handle this." And then
and they do.
Reflector,
I mean,
yeah, Reflector shows up, tries to hit Optimus. Optimus turns around and goes, "Falcon!" And she's like,
and
"Oh, but
just shatters him. Like,
oh
oh
my
my
God."
god! Like you got resurrected to get murked immediately.
Like just the energy beams, the way they draw them in this, and how they just
Yeah.
obliterate everything in their path, so crazy.
Well, it's just to show you how powerful Megatron's weapon is. That's Megatron's weapons, and
Yeah,
that's what would be used against the Autobots. Seeing it used against the Decepticons, oof, taste of their own
there
medicine.
it is. That's some dirt. That's some dirty fighting right there.
But I loved even just a little bit of like an Easter egg. The dam is also the site in the first 3 episodes of Transformers that came out way back in the day. That was like the site of one of the first big battles for the Transformers.
That's pretty cool.
Optimus and Megatron fight on top of the Hoover Dam. That's the first time you see Optimus make the axe and Megatron make his energy mace. So seeing them go to a dam, I was like, oh, it's cool. Like you could tell Johnson again is showing, hey, look, I know my Transformers stuff. Here's a little Easter egg for you Transformers lovers.
There is a level, like I said, a level of love for this lore that I've almost never seen before. And there's even a playful sort of sense of humor that he has, but then it gets really quickly serious and really quickly into some action stuff.
Yeah.
So Starscream, enraged, destroys the water turbine because he's a piece of trash. But ultimately retreats when Optimus blasts at him because he's like, I don't want none of that.
No.
With reinforcements revived and the Decepticons retreating, Optimus plans to take back the Ark. Sparky decides to join the mission, but both he and Optimus refuse to allow Carly to come along, wanting to protect her from the dangers they've already seen. How do you feel about that, benching Carly in this moment?
I'm totally for it. Think about it, right? Her boyfriend is already almost killed, and what
Her dad's dead.
does her dad is dead, and just in general, what does a human bring to this fight? Especially a teenage untrained girl. What does she bring to this fight? So it makes perfect sense. Sit down, go home.
She kind of only has one
No,
move too, which is to drive directly into. that's that's her one go to. I ain't mad.
that's it.
She's batting 300 right now, right? 3,000.
I mean,
How's that go?
she almost got herself killed just now. Starscream blasted her off of the dam, and if it wasn't for RC literally driving up the
You
dam,
want to
she would.
talk about a series of panels that you can just see the motion in? That car flipped to the door open to catch
Yeah,
her. Like, what are we doing in here? Like, this man made a deal with the devil somewhere, Daniel Warren Johnson, to be able to show action in this sense. Because again, no missing frames. I got exactly what
hmm
she was going for in there. You almost got like an Akira slide,
yeah,
moment
yeah.
there with the level, the perspective that we see this happening. And again, it's like saying it out loud just sounds like a bunch of ridiculousness. It's hard to follow. This person's doing this person's shooting this person's yelling this, but it's very, very clear page by page to see what's going on. It's really,
Yeah,
really easy to follow the action,
yeah,
and the action is boisterous. It's loud bangs and pows and fire and explosion and energy beams.
yeah.
But it also feels like weight. Like you don't want any of this stuff hitting anybody. You don't want any of this stuff
No,
hitting buildings or anything. So it's not just like when two superpower people just shoot colored lasers at each other kind of stuff. Like whatever is not hitting their target here is destroying everything in the background.
something right. Yep.
Absolutely. Um. So
And mind you, Frenzy also caught the business. Remember, Optimus grabs him, I think, by the leg and just like one hand power slams him into the ground. It's just like, oh wow, you just gone.
it's almost like when Hulk grabbed Loki and just
Yes,
started just started trouncing him. Uh, Cliff Jumper though and Carly they homies. So Cliff Jumper's like, we still gonna go to the fight. Don't even worry about it, girl. I got you.
I got you.
Um, and so yeah, he brings her along for a ride along, believing that she deserves to be there for their final confrontation. As night falls, the Autobots arrive at the Ark, only to be ambushed by a convoy of green construction vehicles,
Mm,
led by a repaired Starscream. He gloatingly reveals that he anticipated their approach and orders his new buddies, the Constructicons,
Constructicons.
to merge into Devastator. Talk to me
Devastator.
about the
Woo.
Constructicons.
The Constructicons, baby. The most famous, I would say, of all the combiner robots. Everybody who loves Transformers loves seeing the Transformers that form to make an even bigger robot. It's just an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
The Constructicons have classically been the one. You know, when you hear Devastator, you hear like that's like Godzilla showing up. Like, oh shit, this is the fight just got real.
Yeah.
And whenever the Constructicons showed up in the past, it was like, okay, now we got a real fight on our hands. It took the Autobots a long time before they figured out, okay, we have to get our own combiner just to deal with this guy.
Okay.
So seeing them show up in this and the way they show up, I mean, the first one, I'm terrible with their names. Like their names are kind of
Heavy metal is one of them or whatever. One of them crashes right into I want to say
into
Optimus,
Optimus Prime.
and
Yeah,
the
it
screen
just
just says heavy metal
yeah, 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 yeah.
in
Yeah,
cool
no,
ass writing across of
it's
it.
just saying heavy metal. Their names are
And then like they
like
try to
Scrapper.
so it's like the Wrecking Crew in Marvel. It's just
Yeah.
like
Yes.
random names of the construction theme names. But
Yeah.
yeah, they have like that trough and they're beating the hell out of him with the trough.
Yes. Yep.
It's, it's very
You know
interesting.
what? One of the like their names are like Scrapper and Hook, Hauler. I want to say like they're very
Golly.
generic. They're very generic names. The one you care about is is a Devastator. That's what you care about because you want to see that prepare for extermination where they just form up and like not many Autobots can deal with Devastator. So seeing Devastator show up, it's almost like a game over kind of move. Starscream knew what he was doing.
That's
Where
it.
it's like,
That's
okay,
Exodia. He's gotten all the pieces together.
exactly,
It's a wrap.
exactly. Starscream knew what he was doing. He was like, you know what? Why are we trying to save the smallest robots here? I'm gonna take these pieces, and where are the Constructicons? I'm gonna bring them back to life because I'm bringing back Devastator.
These
Metropolis.
just so that it doesn't sit in the back of your head trying to scratch that itch. It's Scrapper,
Scrapper,
Bone Crusher,
Bone Crusher. Isn't he a
Scavenger.
rap? Isn't he a rapper?
Yeah, he's never scared, famously. Scavenger, Mix Master,
Makes the cement truck.
Hook,
Hook, told you.
and Long Haul.
Long haul. I said hauler.
And
The
then when
only
they get
fo-
to, there is
I
a
thought
hauler.
there should be six.
There, what did I say?
I think you're gonna say. Did you say six
Scrapper,
names?
Bone Crusher, Scavenger, Mix Master, Hook, Long Haul.
Oh, okay. There you go.
But in some universes, there are more Constructicons in addition to or in lieu of the primary six. The other named ones are Gravedigger, Hauler. So you were right with Hauler. Erector. That's a terrible name for a toy.
That's woo.
High.
He has a different job.
Yes, yes. Batteries not included. The High Tower and Scoop. So there's that
I don't
there.
know. I don't know what those are.
So are they primarily antagonists in this universe?
Always,
Okay.
always like these. These are big bads. Like I
Okay.
said, Devastator shows up. He's just like great. It was a
Do they usually work
while.
alongside the Decepticons, or is this just like a enemy of my enemy sort of
No,
situation?
they're Decepticons.
Okay.
They're Decepticons, and they love Megatron. They love Megatron. It was a while before we got Autobot combiners, because I think we even get another Decepticon combiner before we get an Autobot one.
Before
I
the good
think,
guys get one.
yeah, because the next ones I believe were the. I think this is gonna sound terrible. The Junkions or something like that.
That
That
sounds funny.
Starscream builds. He gets exiled to an island
Uh huh.
where he discovers a graveyard of war machines. He finds a jeep. He finds a tank, old like Vietnam era plane, and a couple other military based robots, and he gives them consciousness, and he has them become a combiner that they form Bruticus.
So it's like a Frankenstein, almost like just pieces and
Yeah,
parts,
yeah,
not
because
all
it's
that
to
match
show it.
kind of
It's
stuff.
to show. It's to show that again, Starscream has like the scientist background, because that's something
Yeah.
else. I don't know if you're noticing we're getting a taste of here is a lot of the Transformers have their own like individual powers.
Yeah.
Skywarp can teleport. He can teleport himself or part of his body. Soundwave is a living army. He's got this army of cassette tapes inside of him. Thundercracker, I'm trying to remember what he did.
Thundercracker.
But Jazz in the show, we haven't seen it in this so much. Jazz can make these giant speakers come out, and
Hmm.
he disorients you with this large amount of sound. Ratchet is the repair guy. Wheeljack is the genius builder, idea maker, so to speak. And a lot of the Transformers get these different abilities. Mirage could make himself disappear, make himself invisible. Hound could camouflage. Uh, Trailbreaker could make a force field, and so on and so on. A lot of people had their own like powers. So
Hmm.
it was fun. It was fun to see all these little things come up, and now finally seeing Devastator.
I have. I'm looking at old Thundercracker here, but I'm not necessarily seeing what his particular skills are, besides him being one of Megatron's elite.
Right.
Um, yep. Rat Bat.
Another tape.
Is he showing up soon? Have you met Rat Bat yet?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. I don't think
In-
so. And in the
Interesting.
cartoon, he shows up a lot. He's he's a he's a he's a cassette that for some reason needs to flap his metallic wings to fly.
That makes a lot of sense. Um, so yeah, I think this we're about to recap this last issue of this first volume, and I think they set things up perfectly. Quite honestly, you're not going to take out Starscream in this
No.
at the end of this arc. So I like that we've introduced a protagonist. I mean, an antagonist that we can, and literally like the biggest one in this story so far with Devastator. So it again, it's a little bit of a woe is me there moment, or like what are our heroes gonna do now, kind of
Yeah, no,
stuff.
it's like you're literally looking. Optimus is huge, and that last splash page on issue 5,
Hmm.
where it's Devastator just towering over Optimus, you're like, what the hell is this? And as a Transformers fan, like this is Devastator is not someone you go up like. Even Optimus doesn't go toe to toe with. You know
Right.
what I mean? So like the stakes are higher than ever. Shit is really hitting the fan. How are they going to deal with Devastator?
Yeah. Low on energon, low on troops, low on time. But the Autobots and Sparky Witwicky take cover inside the Ark as Devastator wreaks havoc. Cliffjumper, trailing behind, tries to assist, but Carly urges him to find another way into the Ark to get more firepower. Starscream relishes the chaos caused by Devastator, only to be blindsided by a kick from Optimus Prime. Sweet
Yeah,
chin music, baby.
that big boot, that big
Yeah,
boot, baby.
getting crazy because he quite literally is like mustache twirling in the background. I'm like, there's stuff
Yeah.
going on here, bro. Pay attention. Devastator retaliates by grabbing Prime and tossing him around, severely injuring him. He does similarly. The Loki grabs Optimus
No,
and
that was
sort of
what I love is first time he grabs him is he whacks Starscream
yeah,
away,
yeah,
and then he takes Optimus and just like scrapes him along the side of the arc.
yeah,
And Optimus is just like it's like a cartoon character, just like flapping in the wind. I'm like, oh shit, did he just kill Optimus? Like, what's
yeah.
going
We've
on?
we've never seen him taken to task like this before.
No, yeah,
And so RC drags Optimus into the Ark while Jazz lays down suppressive fire. Devastator attempts to grab Ratchet, but the Autobots close the Ark bay doors, cutting off Ratchet's leg in the process. Devastator
yeah,
order
no, yeah. Devastator just like a toy. If you've had these classic Transformers, shit like this happened. So it looked like like a kid just with a broken leg from a Transformer. Like,
yeah,
oh man, where's the rest of my toy? And
right.
Ratchet's on the other side, like, ah, my leg.
Yeah. And again, like that's not something they would do in a normal. They're not doing that in Sergeant Rock. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my, I lost my leg. It took my
Nope.
leg. They can't take my freedom. Um, so Devastator, ordered to stop by Soundwave, begins digging through the mountain to get to the Ark. Meanwhile, Cliffjumper and Carly scale the mountain and reach the ship's access port, only to be confronted by Starscream. And he's like, oh, little squishies. More squishies.
That's it. More squishies. Let's get rid of them. Have that fun. Pop those pimples.
That's it. Inside the Ark, Ratchet tells the Autobots that Optimus's injuries are too severe to treat. As Optimus begins to lose consciousness, he apologizes to his team and attempts to pass the matrix of leadership to one of them, but weakened, he drops
Which
it.
that was such a see. If you've watched the original animated movie, that's a classic scene where he's
To
dying.
Regitron? What's it? No, no.
He's trying to pass it to Ultra Magnus.
Ultra Magnus. Rodimus Prime?
And, but Hot Rod he drops it and Hot Rod goes and catches it and then hands it to Ultra Magnus. But then later on, Hot Rod gets it and becomes Rodimus Prime.
Rodimus Prime.
So in that scene, like you could totally see that Johnson knows, like, oh, I know exactly what scene I'm trying to evoke the emotions.
Yeah,
From
wasn't he
here.
laid out like that as well? Wasn't it in the moment?
In the animated movie?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh man, the history of that movie. It showed the toy makers and the cartoon makers that these aren't just toys to us kids. When Optimus died, like that was huge. They killed off so many of the Generation One Transformers in that movie because they were just like, yeah, let's kill off these characters
We'll just make new
and bring
toys.
in the new toys. And the kids were devastated by it. We're like, what the hell? Like this, like they Optimus was like their dad, or you don't kill Spider-Man, you don't kill Captain America, But that's what they did in this movie, and it changed everything because they were going to do this in other movies because the same company that owns Transformers owned GI Joe at the time,
Right.
and the GI Joe animated movie was about to come out, where they were basically doing the same thing, and then they had to like change it at the last minute, like, yo, don't do it. All that stuff you were gonna do in the GI Joe movie, don't do it because we just dropped the ball apparently with the Transformers movie by killing these characters. Before the movie, there was like 100 episodes, and then the movie came along, and after the movie, like Transformers lost a lot of popularity to the point where they had to bring back Optimus Prime, and that kind of taught them, yo, you don't like people love this character. You can't just kill off this character like this.
Yeah.
And it showed people that all right, as much as this was a half-hour toy commercial, no, people cared about these characters. So it was amazing.
So we almost got G.I. John.
Yeah.
You can throw out it's not your grandfather's G.I. Joe.
Exactly. No, it's so funny because if you watch the G.I. Joe animated movie, a character clearly gets impaled in the heart.
Yeah.
But then later on in the movie, they're just like, Duke's okay. Like in the background, it's almost like somebody chimes in from the back. Duke is okay. He's gonna live, and it's like he got impaled in the heart. It's okay. It was just a flesh wound. It's pay no mind.
That might be one of the things we also cover in the future is that Transformers 80s movie. I've seen it once and I really liked it, but I mostly like the random
everything about it.
rock
The animation, the soundtrack of that movie is amazing.
Yeah.
And everything about it. It's a great animated movie. Fantastic.
2 years away from a 40th anniversary.
40th? I thought we just had the 40th anniversary.
86.
Okay, yeah, it's the 40th anniversary of the
film.
Transformers, but not the film. The film is in 2026. Yes.
Yeah, because the show is the first appearance of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
84. That was
yes.
84.
Yep. Yeah, this year. Yeah, 10-year anniversary, 40th anniversry.
Yep. Big stuff.
Which is exactly why we were covering this today. It was always because of the 40th anniversary
no,
of
it was
Transformers.
Really cool. AMC put the first 4 episodes in the theater for the anniversary, and what they did with the first episode was they did a script read with as many of the still living voice actors.
That's kind of cool.
It was so awesome to watch. It was like, wow, this is really, really cool.
I obviously don't have that connection to Transformers, but literally any other. Like if they would have done that for Batman the Animated Series, or they would have done that for, X-Men or whatever. Yeah, chills. Boom, boom, boom. Matrix of Leadership. Sparky approaches it, reflecting on how he's always wished that he could take the pain of those he cares about. He places his hand inside the Matrix and asks Optimus to tell Spike how proud he is. As Sparky enters the Matrix, it restores its energy, healing Prime in the process. Revitalized, Optimus promises to protect Spike and the world. So me, again, with my lack of knowledge, I thought this was going to be something where it glowed a lot and then it like vaporized. And then like vaporized Sparky and then he'll be gone and then the things about you couldn't walk in it?
This is something I've never seen. But it was a powerful scene because the desperation, the idea that, hey, look, I got to sacrifice myself. I mean, because I think he sees it as, look, this Optimus is willing to sacrifice himself. He basically did. So now I'm going to sacrifice myself so that he can live because we need Optimus. Optimus is going to get this done, not me. So just take care of my son, tell him I'm proud of him, tell him I love him, and let's hope this works. And he walks into the Matrix of Leadership, and it's just like, whoa, again, huge deviation from the original stuff. Sparkplug walking into the Matrix of Leadership and powering Optimus was like, what is going on here? I was just even thinking, like, is this going to be a temporary thing? Like, is Sparkplug going to walk out of it again?
Yeah.
No.
No. The ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
And again, while it may seem from left field from those who know the canon, I think that this gives Optimus even more of a reason to defend humanity, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
This is another selfless act by these squishies to to help out the Autobots. So Devastator crashes through the arc ceiling, but Optimus, now fully restored, grabs the giant's finger and rips it off.
Woo, my finger. That was great. That was a great scene.
Using Megatron's fusion cannon and his ion blaster, he unleashes a powerful assault on Devastator. Outside, Starscream and Cliff Jumper pinned down, taunting. Starscream has Cliff Jumper pinned down, taunting him about the massacre of his clan. As Starscream and Cliff Jumper struggle, Carly fires a gun at Starscream. Cliff Jumper then attempts to aim the gun at Starscream's head, but hesitates, too weary of the constant fighting. This gives Starscream the chance to grab Carly and threaten her. Outside, Optimus leads Devastator to the edge of the cliff, goading him to follow. As Devastator charges, Optimus maneuvers beneath him. Did he just firemen carried him in this moment?
Yes. No. I was gonna say that looked
the attitude adjustment.
Yeah. Like an AA. I was like,
which is just a fancy fireman's carry.
Hey, it's the AA. Okay.
It's the FU. That's what I remembered it being.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the FU.
It was great seeing that again. I was like, oh, that's right. He hit it with that. You can't see me, baby.
That's it.
Again, just Johnson just showing his love of professional wrestling. It was fantastic.
Of professional wrestling, but also of Disney, because I always remember this move from Lion King, right? Guy runs at you, you just kind of take his momentum and flip him off the cliff. I was like,
use your own momentum against you.
That's it. You're going too hard. You flip his ass. So he pushes the giant over the edge, where he lands on top of Starscream, freeing Carly from his grasp. With their leader defeated, the Decepticons retreat, dragging Starscream away. Literally dragging Starscream. He's not. You
suck at this, man.
Yes. Optimus attempts to negotiate with Soundwave, but Soundwave refuses the peace offering and leaves with with Thundercracker.
Not only does he refuse it, he tries to swing on Optimus. Optimus is like, bro,
I ain't gonna ask you again.
Peace.
Yes, I ain't gonna ask you again. I ain't gonna be nice like that again. Back at the Farmingham Hospital, Spike wakes up. The doctor warns him not to speak, but Spike writes on a nearby piece of paper asking, "Where is my dad?" Boom, boom, boom. Now I'm just gonna say a bunch of stuff out loud because you've obviously might be knowing where all this is leading to, but I do wonder. How does a child feel about his father being a casualty in this robot war? And will it embolden him to join said war? And does that necessarily mean he would join the side that got his father killed or not? Like all that stuff is up in the air. And up in the air because of the brilliant storytelling done by Daniel Warren Johnson here. It's almost unheard of how he took to this like a fish in water. It's almost unheard of. You would think that somebody from the original animated series was on this, or somebody from the early developmental of what these characters were meant to be, what they represent, where they meant to go, kind of stuff. And similar to what we constantly talk about with the Ultimate and the Absolute universes, Johnson's getting the ability to be this is an amazing IP, but what about this little change here? And what about this little change there? And how much it's going to impact the future of this. This is an incredibly well-selling book. It's getting more and more increasingly popular as it goes on. I remember issue 13 was humongous. The end of the second volume was absolutely tremendous. I actually just received it in the mail today, the second volume. So I'll be getting through that very soon. But without spoilers, what do you see for the future of this universe? What are you excited for when it comes to the Transformers corner of this Energon connecting universe?
Oh, I mean, it's for just the Transformers stuff. It's exciting to see where this is going to go now, because like you said, you got Spike waking up. Where's my dad? Where is Megatron? All we've seen from Megatron is one panel of him frozen in ice, missing his arm. How did we get to this point? We've only seen a couple panels that show, the arc and that battle that led to them crash landing on Earth. But how did we get to that point? Because in the animated series, we see that clearly unfold. So here
Mhm.
it's like, okay, what happened there that made Megatron get so far away and allowed Starscream to be in the position that he's in? And now that we've seen Starscream fail miserably as leader, I mean, like you had Devastator, man. You
And you
lose
still
with
couldn't get it done.
Devastator. So where does that lead Starscream now? Because for me, even when I read this, when I was reading this issue to issue, and I got to this, I was sitting there going, because something I had always wanted to see as a kid was I wanted to see Soundwave in charge.
Okay.
So I was always like, are we ever going to see that? Because Starscream is looking like a terrible leader, whereas Soundwave, from the background is looking like he knows what to do.
Yeah.
So all these questions do come up very, very quickly in the second arc. And then what's a lot of fun in the second arc, which is right on the cover of volume 2, is we get Elita 1. And so you're like, where is that leading to? And ooh, wait till you get to Shockwave, man. Wait till you get to Shockwave, because it just gets nasty. The Decepticons are really shown to just be these absolutely
Ruthless.
vile, ruthless, horrible villains. They're not. This is not your Saturday morning cartoon Transformers.
Yeah.
These are horrible enemies that do horrible wartime crimes that are just like, wow, like how can you do this? To put this on pen and paper, to show it like this, they're so menacing. They're horrible villains, and that's what makes it more compelling to read.
You know what's funny? You just saying that out loud. I never got that from the Bane films. I never got like these guys are like dangerous. I can barely understand what their plans were. Anyway, like what are we trying to do here? Thinking out loud, and obviously, I'm not looking for any answers because you may know some of this stuff. But as somebody who likes to write and knows about like breadcrumb trails and stuff like that, I do find it interesting that Megatron is frozen. That Starscream wakes up and doesn't go, "Where is Megatron?" He doesn't go like, "Hey, we should probably go find him." Like he immediately is like, I am the leader now, and I mean,
Yeah.
something's got to be up with that because like I think that that's just expert plotting. As somebody who's gone a bit further in this series, was there anything interesting about coming back to these beginnings, seeing how the table was kind of set for stuff that takes place further past this volume?
Oh yeah. I mean, this is like uncharted territory. The way this is being done, having Starscream. Like I was really expecting Starscream to be in charge for like an issue.
Yeah,
So then issue to issue, just seeing him become like putting a stronger foothold on his leadership, getting away with the atrocities that he's getting away with, like killing Autobots, butchering his own men, Frankensteining into his own creations. Seeing what Optimus has to go through, like the idea. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine, like, let's take it from the perspective of how, like, whenever you see a wrestler be forced to use their enemy's
oh
finisher,
yeah, yeah, 100%, or
you know what I mean?
tag
That's
with
what,
them. Yeah,
or
right.
tag
That
with
guy's
them, right?
yeah.
Here, Optimus has to use his mortal enemy's right arm and weapon. Like, oh
Yeah.
man, like it's so poetic the way it's done, and then just those panels. The part of the book that I always like to show people who like question how good this story is, as I show them those panels of where Optimus is talking with Sparkplug, and they're comparing like war stories.
Without
There's no
speaking.
words. There's no words. And you look at that and just like most people I've shown it to go, okay, this is good. And I mean, like my sister recently has gotten back into comics because she's heard us talk about this stuff. She's heard us talk about Energon Universe. She has eaten this stuff up. She has like I want to say between the Ultimate Universe and the Energon Universe, that is by far what she's reading the most of, and she's loving this stuff. And she did not grow up with it the way I did. She kind of like got it from me a little bit.
Yeah,
So for her, this is uncharted territory. This is completely new, and this is her getting into it, and she's eating it up,
that's
eating it
exciting.
up.
That's exciting. And again, like this is made for comic readers, but it's also made for people who just want really, really cool adventure stuff. It hits the nostalgia, the sweet points of in the heart of nostalgia, but also as for me as a wrestling fan, some cool stuff there. As an action movie fan, there's some cool stuff there. Um, as somebody who likes the dynamics of good and evil and what sometimes a thin line is to a thicker line is, what lines do we cross, don't we cross? Like you said, you're talking about like cannibalism, murder, hospitals blowing up, uh I dare I say racism,
Yeah.
autobotism,
Yeah.
you
Right.
know, autobotism. He they what a great characterization in Starscream, especially when you know he's not, at least in most cases, positioned to be the ultimate big bad. So the idea that this is like the second in command and this is how shitty he is, gosh,
Yeah.
can only speak to the future. And yeah, the future is going to be bright, man. We got some really, really cool stuff that we'll be finishing up the end of this year with. The next time you'll be on will be for Craven, I believe. And then we'll be tackling Second Coming.
I have hopes for it.
Somebody has to. You want to hold mine?
I mean, I recently just saw the the latest trailer because I went to see Gladiator 2,
Yeah,
which was pretty good.
yeah.
But I saw the final trailer, I guess, for Craven, and I was watching this will hopefully, at the very worst, or at the very best, I should say, the very best, I think might end up being the best Sony movie.
The director seems to think so. He doesn't want people going in there thinking it's the same as the other Sony movies. I'm of the mind of like, you guys did that to yourselves. Like, I can't keep showing up to your house, get blackout drunk, and break a vase, and then be like, "Oh, whoa, whoa! Let's not act like I'm the type to get drunk and break a vase." It's like that's all. They've all fallen flat. So you're asking me to watch this one now, and it has fallen flat. I will tell you, as reported by DirtSheet Radio, and this is a spoiler that isn't a spoiler. No Spider-Man mention, no post-credit scene.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is just a movie about a dude. But we'll be watching it and we'll be talking about it.
Who gets bit by a radioactive lion?
Yeah, there you go. Got some magic blood. We got that. We got My Adventures with Superman coming up, Second Coming coming up. The best and worst. We just that's gonna be fun looking back at this year and some of the things that we just gushed about and some of the things that we just like what happened here. There's a lot of major developments with Jonathan Majors we might have to talk about when we do that.
Man, I am so mad about that, man. I am so mad about that.
What I love is that Marvel has shown that it doesn't forget anything. So I would not be surprised if they found some backdoor way to get him back over and get us back to where Robert Downey Jr. is the look over here kind of magic trick situation, and then we get our boy Kang back. But boy, all I implore is that if you guys liked what we do here and the conversations that we have, one thing I want you guys to do is to go back and check out all of our past episodes of the Major Issues podcast. That's over 350 episodes, over 700 hours of content. We do this as a labor of love each and every week. We do Major Issues live, a live recording of this and a live streaming of this episode on our Facebook, and then on Thursday the audio version of this comes out, and then we repurpose the video that we shot live to put on our YouTube so that those who want to hear the podcast but also kind of want to see us talk about it, they can do so on our YouTube. So consider being a part of that. Consider checking out our whole backlog of episodes. One of the episodes in the first episode of the beginning of 2025, we'll be predicting 2025, and we'll be looking at all the movies and TV shows that are reporting to come out that year and kind of talking about our excitement. So if you want a little bit of a novelty, I would go and suggest to look up the predictions for 2024 and see how right we were or how off the mark we were with some of those things. That's got to be a fun episode to listen to in retrospect. But yeah, we are available wherever podcasts are found: Podbean, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, the Apple Podcast app, TuneFind, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Just Google Major Issues Podcast will be the first ones to pop up. Everything lives at comicbookclique.com, the one-stop shop for everything Comic Book Clique. Articles written by us, reviews written by us. It's where our merch store lives. You can hit that Shop CBC link, purchase of a piece of merchandise from Comic Book Clique. All the designs were made by me, and we get a kickback for everything purchased. If you guys want to help us out more monetarily, consider donating to us at our Patreon, patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse, where for as little as 10 cents a day, $3 a month, you can help us keep our lights on here and afford the hardware and software that we need to keep producing content free of charge. We do major issues every week. We do major previews every month. We'll be dropping major previews before the November episode will drop before the audio version of this episode drops. And then December will be right behind it. And then we are very excited to, dare I say, be on schedule for major previews moving forward as we've gotten more help. Our family here is growing very much like the Autobots, and we are rolling out some really, really good content. And it's thanks to some of the squishies on the team. So always remember that we are doing this as a labor of love. So if you can kick us back any money or for free, rate and review us on iTunes. It's the quickest way for us to grow as podcasters and find out what you like and what you don't. I've been to the future where we do become the latest and greatest thing to come to comic books, comic book media, but I can't tell you how we do it because next thing you know, Dwayne The Rock Johnson wants to do a jazz biopic, and he wants to play jazz.
All right.
It's all about the notes you don't play.
He's the real prime. He's the real prime.
Oh my God. Could you imagine that set? It's just gears and plugs and piss bottles all over the place. Nobody wants to be a part of any of that. So get on the bandwagon before the bandwagon gets full. We have so much. I really wish I could tell you guys what we got planned for next year. We have so many exciting plans, and even away next year that you'll be able to see us in person. So be on the lookout for all of our announcements that we have for all these pieces of content, how we'll be rolling them out. And make sure that you join us next week for My Adventures with Superman. We got My Adventures with Superman, and then later, early on in the next year, we'll be closing out Superman and Lois. It'll all be over. And I've seen some stuff, man, and I'm like, this damn show. But we'll get there. We'll get there soon enough, and we won't get there alone. You guys help us and continue to follow and support us, because we're seeing astronomical numbers this year. We've done better this year than we've done any other year on record, and that just motivates us to do more, produce more, and be there more. Aside from stuff that we do together, you'll be seeing the Cog here showing off his hauls every single Wednesday. I guess those videos will come out Thursday, as long as the audio version of this podcast. Like I said, there's always something popping off over at Comic Book Clique. So just make sure you're following us, facebook.com/ComicBookClique, Instagram at ComicBookClique, and use that hashtag ComicBookClique. So talk about the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. Last thing I want to do is shout out my boys over at DirtSheet Radio, the leaders in all things pop culture and professional wrestling. We share ComicBookClique.com with those guys, and even though they like to play some music late on into the night, I think they've been pretty good roommates, and we've been able to share our collective fandoms, and it's been absolutely tremendous. If you're watching this live, they're going to go ahead and do a live Raw recap and review. They do it for every single episode of live professional wrestling programming, from Ring of Honor to TNA to AEW, and of course WWE. Survivor Series is around the corner, so check them out for that, because they're going to have full coverage of that event. But I think that's all there is for me. Is there anything you want to plug?
Guys, I just want you to know, get into the Energon universe. Get into it. We are now a year into it. You got over a year's worth of issues for Transformers. You got a miniseries, G.I. Joe miniseries, Destro, Duke, Cobra Commander, Scarlet, that all lead into the G.I. Joe series that just started, where issue number 1 just came out. And what people are still not really understanding or believing is Void Rivals is at the center of it. You got 2 volumes of Void Rivals. Get into this, because this Energon universe, it is cooking. It is cooking. Everybody's really putting their all into the art, the writing. Get into it, guys. Pick up these and go to your local comic shops. Please go to your
Yes.
local comic shops. If you want to be a nutbag like me, pick up the issues or pick up the trades. The trades are very affordable.
Yes, they are. Like I said, I just got the two, and they're gorgeous. The stock is gorgeous. The feel of the pages is gorgeous. I know that's a weird aesthetic thing, but like it feels like a real book. It feels like a real
Yeah.
good book. So yeah, I finally have a bookshelf. So I will be getting more books as we continue to do this. I am putting things in top loaders. Who am I anymore? This is. I feel like I am myself transforming, but to see what I become, you guys are going to just have to stick here and make sure that you're here as part of the next episode of the Major Issues podcast, which means that there's nothing else left to say, but my name is George Serrano, aka The Don.
And I am Alex Garcia, aka the Transformers Cog.
And this has been our Transformers Volume 1 by Daniel Warren Johnson recap and review. And remember, whether you're a mining robot, a prime, an Autobot, or Decepticon, always remember that you're more than meets the eye. Always remember that we are the Clique. And please, please remember that you, yes, you, are worthy.